You've probably seen pictures of this skyscraper before. It's Taipei 101, one of the most famous buildings on the planet. But its story is so much more than just being tall. It's a story of incredible engineering, yeah, but also deep cultural identity. It's about a building literally designed to stare down Mother Nature. So let's start right there, with that first huge challenge, the raw power of the natural world. 100 miles per hour. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the speed of the wind this tower has to be able to handle. And we're not talking about just a strong breeze here. Nope, we're talking about full-on typhoon-level forces trying to shove this thing over. It's wild. So that leads to the big question, right? How on earth do you build something that high in a place that's known for some seriously extreme weather and make sure it doesn't, fall down? Well, the answer is this absolutely brilliant mix of brute strength and super sophisticated design. The architects weren't just in a race to the sky. They were in a constant battle with the environment itself. Let's break down the forces that are trying to bring this giant down basically every single day. It's really a triple threat. First, you've got those insane winds we just mentioned. Second, seismic forces. This part of the world gets a lot of earthquakes. And third, something a little sneakier but just as dangerous, structural fatigue. All that constant pushing from the wind and shaking from the ground can wear down the materials over time, kind of like bending a paperclip back and forth until it snaps. So how did the engineers fight back against all that? Well, they brought out the big guns. They used a whole arsenal of cutting-edge structural designs. This was never about finding one magic solution. It was about building a high-tech fortress. And the key word, the most important word here, is system. None of the amazing engineering tricks in this tower work by themselves. They're all part of one big, collaborative system designed for one thing and one thing only: resilience. The ability to bend, but never, ever break. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and see how it's done. We're going to look at the three main parts that work together to give Taipei 101 its incredible strength. Everything starts with the skeleton. Right at the heart of the tower, there's a massive, super strong, reinforced core. Think of it like a spine. That spine is then connected to a ring of powerful columns on the outside. Those are the ribs. This is the basic frame, the bones of the giant that give it its core strength. Now, a skeleton is no good without muscle, right? That's where the trusses come in. You've got this whole complex web of steel supports that crisscross through the building. They act like the muscles and tendons, holding the skeleton together and spreading out all those forces from wind and quakes so no single part gets overwhelmed. And finally, we get to the most famous part of the whole system, the balancing act. This is the really cool part. To deal with the swing from those 100-mile-per-hour winds, the building has this giant pendulum, a huge steel ball called a tuned mass damper. When the wind pushes the tower one way, this massive ball swings the other way, essentially canceling out the movement. It's genius. So the takeaway here is that it's all of it. The skeleton, the muscles, and that incredible balancing system, all working together. It's like a symphony of engineering. But you know what? All that amazing resilience, that's only half the story. The engineers gave the building its strength, but it was the architects who had to give it a soul. See, the story of Taipei 101 doesn't stop with the engineering. The architects, a firm called C.Y. Lee and Partners, had another goal that was just as important to them. They were determined to build a skyscraper that had a soul. And this quote right here, it gets to the very heart of that mission. And it wasn't just some vague idea. I mean, just look at the tower's shape. It's designed to look like a stalk of bamboo, which is a traditional symbol for learning and growth. It's also built in 8 different sections, because 8 is a lucky number associated with prosperity. It's a totally modern building that's speaking this ancient visual language. So for the architects, this vision was a pretty unique challenge. It's one thing to build a strong tower, sure. It is a completely different thing to weave ancient symbols into a modern megastructure and have it feel authentic and not cheesy. Which brings us to the second huge question of this whole project. If the first challenge was about defying nature, this second one was all about defining a culture. How do you design a building that's on the absolute cutting edge of technology, but also feels timeless and deeply culturally real? And the answer, the real magic of Taipei 101, is how it fuses these two ideas together, resilience and identity. It's the combination of that unbelievable engineering that gives it physical strength with a really thoughtful design that gives it a powerful cultural identity. This pretty much sums up the whole story. You've got these two pillars holding the whole legacy of Taipei 101 up. On one side, you have the raw power of engineering, the state-of-the-art design, the resilience against nature, the dampers, the trusses, the core. And on the other side, you have the pillar of culture, the architectural vision, the use of those traditional symbols, and ultimately, the creation of a true cultural icon. The building simply wouldn't be what it is without both. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. Taipei 101 is so much more than just an amazing piece of engineering. It's really an answer to a much deeper question. It shows us what's possible when pure technical genius is guided by a real cultural purpose. And it makes us ask ourselves, what does it really mean for a building to be both strong and truly, truly significant?